they were using the 665 dredge, which is a pink and purple dredge, long tail. And they had something come up and take their dredge. It just like boom, like that. And then it went away. And they brought in the dredge and they looked at it and there was a squid missing. And then, they kill their fish in Hawaii. They kill a lot of their fish in Hawaii. Guy catches a striped marlin, I think it was, or spearfish. I think it was a stripe. And they killed it. And the guy gets on the radio and says, "What color squid dredge are you using?" And he says, pink and purple, or pink and orange, actually. And he goes, "Look at this picture." And he sends him the picture, and the pink and orange squid is in that striped marlin's stomach.
Wow.
And how did it start out? Like, what was the origin story?
Too much alcohol.
Really? Okay.
Says if God wanted us to have fiberglass boats, he would have given us fiberglass trees.
It's for fishermen. It's not for taking the wife and the wife's friends.
I think that it's a really, really pretty boat.
And then there was a blur that went by and ended up in the cockpit, as far as if I can remember correctly.
Welcome back, State of Sport Fishing Podcast. I'm Nick Rulo. I'm joined with me, my co-host, Anthony Pino with Hooked Optics and Captain of the Blood Money. No guest at the current moment, but we might have Anthony's uncle joining us here in a little bit. But we're just going to kind of catch up. What have you been up to, Anthony?
Not much, buddy. Season's pretty much over here, Ocean City. There's some great tuna fishing going on up north in the Hudson. But I just got back from a little vacation. I don't remember the last time I've been on a vacation, but went to Puerto Rico for 5 days and met up with Rafa Concedo on the from the Doña Lucy, and he was so nice enough to lend us his truck for the week. And
nice.
Yeah, so that made it easy.
I just saw him and all those guys.
Yeah, he said talking about you.
Nice.
So we were he lent us his truck for the weekend, and we went to Rincon, hung out there. He was able to come and hang out there as well with his wife Vanessa, introduced us to some of the locals, and we got to go fishing on his friend Jose's 24 Palmetto. I think it's Palmetto. They make those there, South Florida. It's an older center console. Thing was badass. It was a very nice boat.
What'd you catch?
We just caught 5 mahis. We ended up on the Pichincho Bank. By the end of it, we were like 25 mile. We were not far from the DR, which was interesting for considering it was like a 3/4 day. We ended up pretty far out there, and it was interesting because like where we were in Rincon, it was flat calm. And I was like, I was like blown away. I kept on texting him. I was like, I can't believe how flat it is. This is not the Mona Passage. Well, it was the Mona Passage out there, 25 fucking miles of 25 footer. So I don't typically, it brought me back to, roots growing up on a small boat, makes me appreciate having a badass 64 footer under me. Cause we were making 16 knots on the way home, 25 miles kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was good to get out, relax, and just fish with some good people. And caught 5 mahis, and then we caught 2 tarpons at the boat ramp while we were waiting in line to haul the boat. So that was cool.
There you go.
Yeah, man. How about you? You on your way back from the DR? Safe, easy trip?
Yeah, we made it back. Luckily, good weather, probably 85% of the way. Hit some shitty weather, probably on the bank outside Bimini there, and then all the way to Lauderdale was pretty snotty. Little north wind there, obviously lots of north current there, and jacked the Gulf Stream up there. So a nice slow ride in, and obviously got dark, and obviously that sucked. But for the most part, successful. Everything.
So you 10 out of the whole way from the DR to
Long Island.
How much fuel did you burn? You remember?
Well, I only hold 1,000 gallons, and
Jeez.
we burned we made it with when I filled it back up, it took 800, so I had 200 to spare. Not a lot, but
so you burned just under 2,000 gallons.
Well, 800 just going to Long Island.
Okay, I got you. And then did you feel you haven't filled it back up since or no?
No, well, I filled it up in Long Island, and then I haven't filled it up. Well, no, take that back. I ran from Long Island to Chubb.
Okay, so
I put in 200 gallons in Chubb, and then I punched it from Chubb to Lauderdale.
I got you. But you saved a lot of money chugging.
Yeah, bypassed Turks, saved them probably 800 gallons there, and I think Turks is probably around $8 a gallon.
fuck, it was $7 when I was there.
Yeah,
So
Turks is brutal. So
gotcha. Well, so you're home in South Florida now?
boats back, no more DR. Sad about that, but start switching gears, get this front runner boat ready, and start catching some sailfish. And it looks like might be a decent year. Already getting some cold fronts. People already catching sailfish now, which I feel like, I don't know, unless I'm forgetful, but I feel like it's been a little better the last few years at this time.
I feel like Andrew on the Fish On had a good day in that
he's
ladies
caught-
tournament. He caught like 10 or something like that.
I
Or
don't
is
know
that-
exactly how many, but I know he caught some, and I know a handful of boats been catching him off Miami and Palm Beach already too. So
Good.
pretty good.
Hope
Hopefully
you guys
it's a good
have
year.
a good season. It's been a while since you guys had a good season, right?
Yeah, just like a strong, just from the beginning of the season, through the season, usually it would start getting good at the end of the season, but looks like it might start off strong now. So
Cool.
we'll see.
Well,
Fort
I hope
Lauderdale
it-
Boat Show this week.
On the
That's what
47 front runner is what it is.
they'll be showcasing the 47 front runner. Things a giant, it was a beast.
Yeah.
Got quad 600 Mercs on it. We'll have a 39, 36, 33, and a 26 there. Full fleet. My
So
boat
you-
unfortunately won't be ready, but it'll be
It-
ready for season.
You had but the 39 is what you have, right? For your fishing.
Yeah,
boat?
it just
Gotcha.
this one won't be completely kind of tricked out for tournament fishing.
I got you. A little bit more family friendly, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Got you.
But yeah, you got to come down, dude. I got
I want to, man.
space for you.
Yeah. I'm just gonna fuck everything up. I'll just watch. I don't just stay out of the way. Terrified of getting yelled at. So,
You'll be all right.
so cool, man. Well, I'm excited for your season. Hope it's good. I always follow the sail fishing down there pretty closely. It's just a simple fact that I think it's cool because it's so competitive. It's fun.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure there's a few new boats this year as well. Usually
Yeah.
a couple new guys every year. So
I know I asked you this before, but who's gonna be, how much of the team is gonna transfer from the Showtime to the front runner boat?
like half, and then JC will be running kind of like a factory deal with Contender. So he's running a 44 Contender. And he'll take some of the guys with him. I'll take some of the guys with me, and then obviously picking up a few new guys and stuff.
Are the
So-
front runner guys gonna fish with you?
I'm sure they're gonna fish a little bit. I don't know how many of them. I know those guys are building boats, man. Those guys can't build them fast enough. So I know it's probably a little hard for them to get away, but I know they definitely want to be a part of a few tournaments.
Gotcha. Nice. So you're gonna have to kind of rebuild a team. That's gonna be.
Yeah, I have a couple of my main guys, but yeah, definitely it'll be different. I'm definitely gonna miss fishing with JC.
Gotcha.
We probably fished together for 16, 17 years, I feel like.
Wow.
Pretty long time.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. I'm like, man, I'm pretty old.
Yeah. Yours was your birthday recently, so happy birthday. I don't think I mentioned it to you, but
Thank
happy birthday. How old are you?
36.
Oh wow, a couple
Old.
years older than me.
I
Maybe
know.
34 in a little bit. So I guess
Go.
I was thinking about this. Speaking of topics, because it's just me and you speaking. Do you think that captains, mates, and even anglers and owners and anglers, do you think that there's a prime time in their career where like almost like an athlete where they're going to be like the best for whatever reason, when they're going to be like maybe the most competitive or the best? Like I feel like for like a captain, I think from like 30 to 40 to the early 40s is kind of like, I don't know, it seems like I've seen guys like older than me like really do well that time in their life. I know that there's plenty of guys that are older and even younger that do really well, but I think the ones that I don't know, that seems to be for a captain, maybe not like a captain like just in the industry, but like a captain that wants to be on a competitive boat and isn't competitive. Like I feel like 30 to 40 seems, maybe even the low 30s to the low 40s seem to be the most available time. They seem in their prime, like they're doing well in that time, and then for whatever reason sometimes things change. I think a lot of it has to do with how much time you can dedicate to going fishing. Like we don't have family. Like I have a girlfriend, a wonderful girlfriend, and you're married, but beyond that we don't really have family. So like I feel like once,
well, I'd say it's kind of just dependent on because like I would say the age really, I mean, I would like to think that I'm not even close to my full potential yet.
Yeah,
because-
yeah,
And
yeah.
I see, a lot of guys, older guys that I look up to and I want to be like, I feel like when I was watching them, especially when I was however long ago you want to say, but I feel like they were dominating through their entire 40s and then
Yeah,
even early 50s, you know?
Gotcha.
I mean, so I mean, obviously I'm obviously crazy competitive, but I would like to think that I'm just going to keep my skill and what I know is going to just keep getting better and better, you know?
Yeah, I just think like I don't know, maybe not so much in South Florida because you can build a whole career like just working out of South Florida, but like up here in Ocean City, you gotta travel in the winter. Like there's no way, like
Yeah.
very few people can make a living, not being able to move with their boat in the winter. So I think like there's a certain time where before you have all those family things that you have to dedicate time to, where you can get on a boat with an owner that wants to be super competitive and really spend the winters practicing or going like to Costa Rica or somewhere competing there. And then eventually like you're like, sometimes maybe some people get to a point where it's like, I've been competitive for a long time and it's time for me to slow down, maybe take a job that's a little less, wide open. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like I see certain stages just observing, at least up here, people like really kill it to a certain time. And then I wouldn't say they burn out, but they maybe burn out on like that full on
Yeah.
being away for 6 months, fishing a lot, and then coming home and fishing a lot at home, because in August here, like similar to your sail fishing down there and in January, February, I'm not like, I'm home and I come home, but I'm not really home. I'm on the phone all night, looking at charts, talking to people. I just find that interesting, but you're very much still in your prime, sir, at 36. I'll wait till next summer. I'll probably have a shitty summer. I'll be past my prime.
Well, yeah, no, it was good.
Do you think,
but
do you think mates, like, do you have a certain, we just hired a kid this summer that was just turned 21 over the summer. And like, he's great. Like we've had Kevin, who's been like our go-to guy, but he's not full-time. We finally got a full-time guy, and he's 21, Ayrton, and he's got the passion, he's got the energy, and I can just tell him like at being 2021, I just tell him to do something and he just goes and doesn't pick up his head until he's done, and then he comes back and asks me what's next. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
good kid right there.
Yeah, and like I feel like kids like that, you want to get them at that age, and then once they like, I hope to have it for like 2 or 3 more years if I'm lucky, and then send them on to greener pastures. And I feel like he's just like, I feel like having kids at that age where you can kind of mold them to what you want certainly helps, because then like maybe you get somebody who's like, I have a hard time having somebody who's like older or the same age as me working on the boat, because you got to treat them differently. And I don't mean like treat them like, I'm not going to yell at them or whatever. I just feel like, because I try not to yell at my mate. Thankfully they don't give me a lot of reasons to yell, but like I feel like you got to be, it's a little different when working with somebody that's a lot closer in your age and maybe your experience. I feel like I prefer to have somebody young, maybe because they don't even know what I'm doing wrong. That's probably the reason why. They're just like, he's a captain. He's definitely fucking something up, but I don't know any better.
I guess it all depends what you're doing, but I mean, I like having a younger guy is good. Especially if you could just tell him to go do things, certain things. Maybe like an older guy is not going to go do those things, but I like to have maybe an older guy or even my age or older that has been doing it for a long time, that I could be like, hey, what do you think? Like,
yeah, it's always good. And I'll ask Ayrton, my mate. I'll be like, I always ask him what he thinks, because I want him to feel like he's included, and I want to know his opinion because he's a sharp kid, And I always ask anybody who fishes with me. But
well, like I'll always ask like, what do you think of like this or this? And they're like, well, you're the captain. I'm like, yeah, well, I like both. I like my choices A and B. I just want to know what you think about A or B.
Yeah.
Because I'll make A work or I'll make B work, but I want to know what you think about either one.
Like what would be something that you would like how to rig something, or like where to go? Because
I'd say where to go, or maybe a spread, or bait,
what
whatever.
bait they use. I mean, and you're down there in that kite fishing stuff where you gotta,
Yeah, it's just like
the water is a certain color, you use a certain bait or something like that, right? So
something like that.
yeah, so
It's
know,
more air. I wouldn't say water. It's more of just where you are,
yeah, I get it. I'm just yeah, I don't know, that interesting. Like I always ask the mate what to do, but like, or what he thinks, especially because you don't know. Every once in a while you'll get a nugget of information from somebody unlikely, I always ask everybody if they have anything they can offer, and then I'll make the best decision from there. But I'll try to try is a key word, make the best decision from there. But
no, and then like even in our last couple days in DR, we just, and who knows what it was, but we raised a ton of fish, but they weren't eating, and just, I don't know what's more frustrating, like not like marking them and then not seeing them, or marking them, raising them, then they don't eat. I don't really know which one's worse. Because when you raise them, you usually think you're going to get a bite.
yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about that tournament you had in the DR, but let's talk about that. That was what tournament was that in October, early October, right before you left? Okay.
The Cap Cana one?
Yeah.
Real tight one. Marlin Darlin had some good fishing. Warpath had some good fishing. I mean, overall, I would say it was probably a little slower than what everybody thought, but.
And you said you saw plenty of fish.
Yeah, we raised some fish. But
yeah, no switching, just lazy back there, blacked out.
Yep, come up behind the mackerel and not really even whack it. At the first couple of them, I'd just start teasing it in right away, thinking it was just an angry blue marlin, and then I realized that they'd kind of just disappear when you start teasing them. So then I would just leave it and see if they would commit to it, then tease it, but they weren't doing anything, just fade off.
Gotcha.
So pretty frustrating.
Interesting. You got to just put the mud flap behind the thing. Kevin's gonna get mad at me for saying that. But
what mud flap behind what?
Yeah, right there, just behind whatever.
That's going with us to El Salvador.
Gotcha. Nick, this is my uncle, by the way. I don't know if you ever met my Uncle Bill.
We formally met, but I think we spoke a few times on the phone.
Yeah. We never really fished a mackerel, but we used to fish like a horse ballyhoo behind a chain or something, behind an express or a head of some sort. And Kevin just one day put out a mud flap because I think what ended up happening was we just started putting lures at the back of our chains. The Piccola was always back there behind it when we were tuna fishing. So one day, I don't know why, I think we switched over to marlin fishing real quick, and like from tuna fishing to marlin fishing one day, and he just threw he just threw that mud flap out there behind at the end of the chain, and it's just been out there for 3 years now. And they just like, instead of having the rig like a whole bunch of mackerels, they just eat that. And then if a 5-pound dolphin comes and eats it, you don't like get upset about a 5-pound dolphin eating your mud flap. So, or instead of like, you spend all this time on these mackerels and then they come and
I hear you. If it works, it works.
And they keep on eating it because sometimes they take it. They've taken a few from us over the years, but I'm going to remedy that this year. I got to figure it out.
Well, we got something different too.
I'm going to put it on there so hard that they're just going to have to pull the outrigger out of there off the boat. So
we tried something in Cabo, and it worked really, really well.
Let's talk about this Cabo thing, Uncle Bill. You've gone to Cabo. You were invited by Zach Morrow on the Real Cast, is it? And you went there and you caught another fucking 500-pounder. The number of people that have caught 500-pounders in Cabo during tournaments is plural, is probably you and maybe one or two other people, to the best of my knowledge. So tell us about how that week went.
The week was just a shit show. It was a train wreck, but somehow it worked out. He called me up a couple days before the tournament, and he said, "Come on down. I need an angler. Pay nothing, win nothing." The guy who chartered the boat didn't have anglers, so I said, "What the hell?" And I decided to go down. I got to Dallas, and the guy, I get a text from the captain, who's also the owner, and he says we may not have toilets and we may not have air conditioning. The AC broke, and the generator hose broke, and it sprayed water all over those things, and we're screwed. Calls me back about an hour later. I'm just about getting on the plane. He said, "We got toilets. but you're not gonna believe this shit. The charter canceled because we don't have AC.
Damn.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I almost flew back home. I get down there and he says, all right, I fixed the toilets, and we got somebody to pitch in some money. So he says, how'd you like to pitch in? I was like, huh, so much for my free trip, right? So we almost got all in, and we're sitting there in line, and he's like, all right, if you pitch in this much, we're almost all in. I was like, well, we got to go all in. He goes, well, throw up another 5,000. And I couldn't do that. So I called a friend, and I called my friend Kim, and I said, Kim, get in this with me. And she's like, absolutely. And next thing you know, we're in it. We're all in. And second day, I caught a blue, hit the left short, and probably 250. They had the gaffs out. They were ready to kill it. And then they looked at it and they said, nah.
What did you say?
I said, nah.
Really? I can't.
That tells you that probably weighed 125. I said, nah. I went to the drink cooler after they released the fish. I got out of the chair, went to the drink cooler, and got a water. I turned around, and there's a big old blue marlin eating the right short that quick. And the guy who was in the money with me said, I never caught one of these things. That looked hard. Get in the chair. I said, you don't tell me twice. I got in the chair, and 40 minutes later, we're putting a 500 pounder in the boat.
Wow.
Absolutely insane. The fish just killed herself, just took a run that really got way, way, way deep in the backing, jumping the entire time. And then basically just was spent. Didn't do anything after that.
Wow.
And it was a good fish. It was a very cooperative tournament fish, just like the other one in the Bisbees. That one was cooperative too.
How long ago was that?
2019.
Wow. So
2019,
everybody, even in Cabo, still probably remembers you, because that was the biggest one in a while caught.
Yeah, I think so. It was the biggest blue. I don't know if there's been bigger blacks, but a lot of they had a run on live bait blacks.
Gotcha.
And we were the only one that tournament to weigh a lure caught blue.
Really? Gotcha.
Wow.
I think we were the only one to weigh a blue. Everything else that got weighed was a black.
Gotcha.
And it was that was great. That was a double header. Amanda had one on the right short. I guess I can't remember. I was inside making a sandwich. And Amanda had one on, and the right long hit, and I'm sitting there going, Amanda, cut your fish off. We saw it jump. It probably weighed 125 pounds. I was like, Amanda, cut yours off. She's like, what if I have the big one? I was like, look at your spool. Look at my spool. I have the big one, I promise you. But she fought that thing 130 stand up and kicked its ass in like 3 minutes.
Wow.
And then we caught that one. That one was 42 minutes, and that was 1.4 million. That was great. That was exciting.
How much was this one?
349, 350.
So you still had a nice return on your almost free fishing trip.
Yeah, that fish. If I'd have caught that fish the next day in the little Bisbees, I think it would be 1.6, but it would have lost. There was a 552.
Yeah,
or 507, something like that.
Well, you never cease to amaze us, Uncle Billy. Falling shit, coming out smelling like roses. I used to think that it was some sort of luck or something like that, but I believe now it's just your ability. So we're all happy for you. We really are.
Thank you. That was a fun tournament.
So
yeah, it's a pretty cool trip from no AC and toilets to catch.
Oh, and he fixed the AC, and it was cold in there, man. And they have no blankets on the boat, not like the Blood Money where there's like enough blankets. It's like a ski resort.
Do you keep your salon real cold, Nick? Like ours is
try
like,
to. I mean, but
ours is
2 o'clock during the day. It's just not.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the morning or whatever, it's freezing.
I think that there's a fraternity of owners and captains that get together, and it's a competition who can keep that thing the coldest, and because it is absolutely frigid.
Yeah.
In the Blood Mine, any boat you walk into, it's like 48 degrees in there, and then you walk outside and you get hit by this wall of heat. Yeah. I can't believe more of us aren't sick. I come home sick from that damn boat a lot because I sleep on the boat the night before, but I'm not complaining. It's a fast.
How many boats were in that tournament you just fished?
54.
That was the Los Cabos.
That's the Los Cabos Billfish. That's put on by Bonnier, Marlin Magazine.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, and it was.
And there's one going on now. What's going on now?
Well, the little Bisbees just finished, and the third place fish won the big money. The first place fish was not in any of the money. Just the meat fish. The second place fish got $1,000 Calcutta in the Billfish, and the third place fish was across the board, and they won. So the big Bisbees, which there's just going to be a shit ton of money in that. I bet you there's going to be 7 or 8 million in that.
Wow.
That starts tomorrow, Wednesday. Day one is Wednesday.
Who was the boat that was the third place winner that won the money? Was that Stella June?
No, Stella June didn't weigh one in this one.
I just saw they posted they weighed.
They weighed one in the in our term, the one that we won.
Oh, okay, like a 380 or something.
Yeah. I don't think they weighed one in the little Bisbees. I can't remember the name of the boats.
I'll figure it out right here.
Yeah, but it was
Those guys catch some fish though.
That first place fish was weighed at 8:15 p.m. I don't know what time the cutoff is there, but they weighed it, but the dude wasn't in any of the money. And that was when will this air?
A little bit. Like
Couple,
it's
2-3
typically
weeks.
a two week lag.
Oh, okay. Well, that was that was one of the reasons why our captain had a plan, which I wasn't crazy about the plan, but I like it now. He told me the plan, and he says we're not going to be further than 6 miles away from the arch all 3 days. And I was like, man, that sounds like a damn charter boat plan there. And he said this tournament gets won so many times by a charter boat that's not in the money, and nobody ever hears about that fish that catches that fish right out front. And he said, we're all in, we're going to go right out front.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
And we didn't see a single boat the first day. I think we saw one boat the second day, and we saw 15 the third day.
Wow.
Caught it on the second.
Where does everybody go? Like, I mean,
I have no idea. We didn't see any of the guys that were catching all those stripes and releasing all those blues. We didn't see. The third day, Jerry on the Artemis caught 2 by us. He was in there with us.
gotcha.
But and then Gold something or other, an old boat with a local crew, and they do very, very well. They caught one right next to us. We never saw one on the third day. We saw one stripe at the end of the day, and just watching the clock, that sucks. I mean, you guys know that, but more so than I do. But it just sucked.
What was the top release boat?
The top release boat was maybe El Sortudo was second, maybe Freebird or
The Real X took second place in the 1000 and then
yeah, they had the $1,000 Calcutta.
And then the third, the Anya team Anya,
they were across the board.
562,000.
But that Freebird and
562,000 for release.
No, that's for the kill.
Oh,
And there was $100,000 in the release for the little Bisbees, and that boat was
they caught a lot of fish. I think I'm not sure what the scoring's like.
Freebird.
Freebird.
Yeah, the Toroso.
Yeah, Toroso.
Yeah.
They caught a lot of fish, and I think the stripes are worth more money in the
Worth more points.
Bisbees. Yeah. They're worth more points in the little Bisbees as they are in the Los Cabos. The Los Cabos, the stripes are worth 25 points, and the blues are worth 300. So you got to catch 12 stripes to catch up to one blue.
Yeah, wow.
jeez Louise.
And I think they did that because of your old boss. Who was your old boss? I'm having a brain fart here. Yeah, I think Ray Rocher went down there on a contender or something.
Yeah.
And they fished dredges and they just crushed everybody. And they caught like 70 or something.
Oh wow.
And after that, the striped marlin points kept getting lower, devalued. Yeah. But it was
The
a
Ray
good
to
time.
come upset the apple cart.
Well, that's what
I
they
won't
did in the
say-
Cuts Boat shootout with the White Marlin. They made them. Well, they didn't make them lower. They just made Blue
Was-
Marlin more.
Yeah. They put that Easter boundary on there too.
Yeah, so those
Yeah.
guys weren't running out there just mowing all those little spearfish or white marlin, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, well, I won't say who the captain was, but I'll tell you who it was told to. Our old captain Victor on the Tranquilo, he got to Cabo And the captain looked at him and he looked in the cockpit and he says, "Put all that Squid Nation shit away. That shit don't work here. You got to either pull live bait or just pull lures." And Victor's like, okay. And they put out 2 squid dredges and, came home with won the little Bisbees with a $4.99 and then won the big money and the big Bisbees won 2.6. They walked away with $3 million that year.
Who's that?
The Tranquilo.
Oh, wow.
Tranquilo. Yeah, that was
I don't know. It's strange to me that maybe my only context for the Bisbees is, and this is 3 of us, that if there's someplace we don't know anything about fishing, I would say it's probably there. So people that are listening to us from SoCal and Cabo, please, you can chime in and let us know how stupid we are. But I felt like Victor used to go there. He went there for a couple of years and was super competitive, right?
I don't think he's ever not won money on a trip there. The first year,
how many?
First year they won the little Bisbees and the big Bisbees killfish and won $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
The second year they won the release, and then the third year we caught our fish and we won 1.4.
Yeah,
he's been there 3 years.
Yeah, so that's pretty good, pretty nice trip to Cabo. But it's like I just found it strange that he was doing so well with the lure fishing. Now he's a fucking badass gifted captain, like one of the best I've ever fished with. But all those guys still go do the live bait thing, and they got to go catch their live bait in the morning and then go fishing. Right, a lot of them.
You're allowed, at least in the Los Cabos. I don't know about the Bisbees. But you're allowed to go live bait fishing before the shot.
Oh, wow. I got you.
So we went out at 5:30 in the morning and we got live bait just in case,
Yeah.
But
I just was always found it strange that, Victor goes up there, doesn't really know much about the fishing and does so well.
There's a big group of lure pullers too.
Yeah.
It's just impressive, or it's overwhelming to see what happens when the live baiters get together. I mean, they're fishing on a place about the size of the hot dog,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 80 boats on there live baiting. It gets a little contentious.
Sure.
It's crazy.
Oh, I couldn't believe it when I saw it. We only saw it one day, and I was just like, that's gotta just be torque. I mean, you're literally rigger to rigger, and
That's insane.
And then one or 2 boats will pull a black out of there.
It just seems strange if I don't know, that you look at somebody who comes there and just does what he knows has confidence in, and then goes fishing, and I find it strange that, and I don't think any places are quick to change anywhere. Locals are quick to change anywhere when something new comes in, but it just seems strange. You were lure fishing. They were lure fishing. I think a couple other boats have caught one lure fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think there's quite a few boats lure fishing. What's amazing is that there's definitely a talent to the live baiting. There's a talent to any kind of fishing, but there's a talent to the live baiting because it just seems like over and over and over it's the same
boats. Yeah.
Same boats there's 80, 90 boats sitting there live baiting and same damn boats.
Gotcha.
So there's got to be, just like fad fishing. Everybody. I've always heard people say that you just go circle a fad and you'll catch fish. And talking to Mitch on the Zaguate, there's definitely a talent and a pattern to the way these guys, the successful guys, fish those fads.
Yeah, me and Nick had the fun chance of fishing around the Salty Fair and the DR.
Yeah.
There's definitely something to it. It's just different.
Yep.
Yep. Those guys are dialed in, that's for sure.
So we had some questions. You're really good on a couple of these, Uncle B. We had some questions sent in, so we'll have we'll do this one first. How many Sancochos do you do in a day? I guess what would be your worst day with the ratios?
Well,
I guess
first of all, what am I really good at? The Sancocho part or the answering to the question? You said I'm really good at this.
No, this is
you said how many Sancochos?
No.
Yeah.
No, you'd be really good for. There's a couple other questions that are more up your side. I mean, you're good at Sancochoing too. Let's not get into that. You know what? You do end up catching them on the 5th drop back, but it fucking baffles me, to be honest with you. So we're not going to go down that road, but
It doesn't matter as long as it gets hooked.
no, it's 35 miles back there by the time you get hooked. We just got to clear up and back up. We can't even circle. Your worst day, Sancochos.
My worst day,
Dude, let's do one here in Ocean City. We'll do this one here in Ocean City, and then somewhere else.
Yeah,
Because Ocean City one's hurt the worst.
one here in Ocean City is kind of tough because we just don't get a lot of bites. But I think I probably missed 5 or 6 one day in Ocean City out of 9 bites, 8 bites or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. My worst day could have been that one in Isla.
Years ago on the Viking?
Years ago on the Viking. I was ready to take up golf.
Pacific habits, Nick.
It was absolutely horrendous. I started the day off 0 for 8 and it got worse from there.
We only caught 15 that day or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you weren't the only culprit. You were just the worst by a considerable margin.
And then anytime it stuck, it was a king mackerel,
Yeah.
It was atrocious. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I honestly think when you put it all together, if you can put I think an 80%, 85% ratio is exceptional. And if you can put together a 70% ratio, it's not horrible. It's decent.
I think for deadbait trolling, a 70, you want a realistic goal to be 60 to 70%. And what you need to do to win most tournaments is be 80 to 90%. But you need
I was gonna say if you're closer to the 90% mark, I think in any tournament, you're probably gonna find yourself in the top 3.
Yeah, if you're getting the bite, like if you're getting as many bites as anybody, but you need there's
sometimes
a
you get a
certain
guy
mode
that goes, let's say they go 7 for 8,
yeah,
and then the other guy went 8 for 15, but you came in second because you didn't miss,
Yeah, but I get that. Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is for a tournament in the short span of what you need to be in the tournament, you need to be 80% higher, and you need some things to go right. But over the course,
100%.
Over the course of a season, if you're 60 to 70%, I would say that's more a realistic goal because you're 80, 85% those days are just you got it going on and shit's going right because it doesn't always go right. Typically on the blood money, it never goes right.
If you're fishing a deadbait tournament and the team holds their rods, you're only as good as your weakest angler.
Yes, or the one that's not texting. So
how? I don't think it affects me that much.
Okay.
That's why it's good to fish when you don't have service.
Yeah, well, now everybody has in Ocean City. Typically, everybody
reach.
Yeah, the whole boat has an inReach.
Oh,
everybody on the boat.
Throw the inReaches in the water.
I get information coming from all over the place. My question is, where is our information going? But
I always ask.
Yeah, I know you do. Well, that's because we've had this talk. So,
I've got sat down a few times.
Nick, your worst day average wise?
Well, dead baiting was just recently in DR. We had a couple bad days, but we had a lot of new guys learning pitching.
Yeah.
So just part of it. I don't know. Probably missed 5 or 6 blue marlin in a day. On the worst days, and then sail fishing. Probably. Obviously we've had bad days where you just miss all of them, but we've had tournaments where you win and you miss more than you ever did just because you just had so many shots bites. And you had just so many multiples. I mean, when you have triples and quads, it just you're gonna miss. I mean, unless you're Q. I know guy catches quads and 5 bangers like they're singles, but I know one tournament that just stands out. I think we were like 16 for 26 one day, and we ended up we won the daily.
Yeah,
but we just, like I said, a lot of those fish were just big multiple packs, and jumping on each other, busting each other off, wrapping them, it's just like no one really was making an error. It's just angry fish just fucking going berserk,
What about you?
2 days that I can remember. The one day this year we had 18, 20 bites and we caught 8. And that was, I mean, to have 18, 20 bites in Ocean City in 2022, it was ridiculous. And the fact that we didn't catch 10 that day was unbelievably annoying.
Yeah, I would probably wouldn't have a voice for 3 days.
Infuriating. So that was probably, as a boat in Ocean City, that was the worst. And then, I mean, shoot, on the Aussie rules, that trip, I mean, we would go 60 for 120 like in a morning. So it was, I mean, I didn't really care because the less fish you guys caught, the more fish that we could have come swim behind the boat, which was the coolest part. But I mean, it was ridiculous how many fish we had, and just like that, it was just like lots of multiples. And it would seem like, because the bait wasn't so great that trip, like if we fished for more than 20 minutes without a bite, which was abnormal, the next pack, it would be a pack of 10 and they would come in there and we wouldn't get them until the fresh batch of baits went out. You know what I mean? But that was the worst. But I don't know. That was still, I mean, that wasn't infuriating. That was just fun. Like, I didn't really care. Like, who cares up there?
They're coming.
Yeah. If you're bothered by how many you catch there, I think you're going up there for the wrong reasons personally. The advancement in dredges over the years. I mean, we can have a podcast on this alone, like about what we've seen, what's changed, which is crazy because I feel like it's gotten tremendously easier. I remember if you weren't rigging triple mullet and ballyhoo dredges, you were just a lazy guy on the dock. Now, like our mate on the Blood Money barely rigs a teaser bait on the end of on the squid chain anymore. It's just like 50 baits and then we go fishing. So I find it very interesting that, I mean, what do you guys think? It's been I feel like you've had a big effect on this, Uncle B, and this is just, we weren't even really, I just asked you to come on at the end and this question just came in. So it wasn't really planned for you, but I feel like you facilitated a lot of this, Uncle B. I don't know how, but you did.
I think as far as the effectiveness of it, we were always real careful in the beginning to not step on anybody's toes and say that artificial dredges, or in our case, squid dredges, were more effective than bait dredges were. In Ocean City, especially, people at first didn't believe that Howard was running squid dredges on the Predator, and we were beating teams with no budget. They could fly in mullets if they had to from Florida. But it was when the dredges went to Costa Rica, and they were getting just as many bites on squid dredges as they were on bait dredges, that we really started to see a difference. And then we got a video from a guy one time, and it was a black dredge, and a fish came to the black dredge and he hit it once and he went straight to a bait. And then I got a video from another guy, it might have been Garrett Pendley, sent me a video, and it came to a pink dredge and it hit it once and it went straight to a bait. And then I'm watching countless dredge videos of ballyhoo and mullet dredges, and we see that fish just camped out on the dredge, and this was because of a question that Howard said. I know they work, and we're catching a lot of fish, but I never see a fish come to that dredge from the bridge. And I was, wondering the same thing. Why aren't you seeing the fish come to the dredge? Well, the reason is they come in quick, they hit it once, and they go straight to a bait, as opposed to on a mullet or a ballyhoo dredge, they just kept coming back to it and coming back to it and coming back to it. So the chances of you seeing it were much greater. But that's not the purpose of a teaser. The purpose of a teaser was to tease the fish in and then have it go to a bait. So we started to formulate the marketing idea of what's the better teaser, the one that feeds your fish or the one that teases them and gets them to a bait. The other thing that I think that really helped us was fishing with Victor and listening to some of the guys in Bermuda. When the squid started holding up, the bars started holding up to the real heavy pressure, you could troll a squid dredge or any kind of artificial dredge at 9, even 10 knots if you had enough weight. So now the Blue Marlin guys could do it, and that really helped.
And the advent of the LPs helped a lot.
in the LPs helped tremendously. And you know that on the Tranquilo, when we fished on the Tranquilo, he was always blue marlin fishing. He was fishing at 8.5, 9 knots. And that's not your typical sailfish speed. He said the sailfish is going to get it anyway. We just got to, you know, we missed a lot of fish because he was going 8.5, 9 knots. We had to use 1 ounce weights to keep that bait in the water. But he was blue marlin fishing because the dredges wouldn't break and we would raise fish. So I think all that helped. And I just think that as captains got more comfortable with it, they started tinkering with it and they made it better. You know, most of the ideas on dredges, you know, they make better. The captains come to us and they give us an idea to make something. So I think a lot of that had to do with just learning how to use the dredges, the artificial dredges, believing in them. Confidence in your spread is so huge. And when they start to believe in it, you know, they start to do great with it. My opinion, anyway.
The best Squid Nation dredge is this video right here.
Yeah, I remember getting that one.
Look at him.
Who sent me that? George?
Me. Yeah,
You.
George. Yeah, that was George sent it, but yeah, he was my mate.
Yeah, that blue. I remember that. I got all excited when I saw that. Yeah.
That was sick.
And we've been fortunate enough to you know have see a fish in the squid dredge too. They put their face up in there too. Like they're not picking it clean like a natural dredge, but they're definitely, you know.
Oh, Garrett has got lots of video of them actually taking squids off the dredge.
Oh, we've had them taken.
But there's a guy, and I'll remember his name by the end of the story. There's a guy in Hawaii that I couldn't believe this thing. That they were using the 665 dredge, which is a pink and purple dredge, longtail, and they had something come up and take their dredge. It just like boom like that, and then it went away. And they brought in the dredge and they looked at it and there was a squid missing. And then, you know, they kill their fish in Hawaii. They kill a lot of their fish in Hawaii. Guy catches a striped marlin, I think it was, or spearfish. I think it was a stripe. And they killed it. And the guy gets on the radio and says, "What color squid dredge are you using?" And he says, pink and purple, or pink and orange, actually. And he goes, "Look at this picture." And he sends him the picture, and the pink and orange squid is in that striped marlin's stomach.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's cool.
But a lot of times, you know, most of the time they just switch off of it real quick. Well, it's kind of like the mud flap, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we were putting like mud flap, you know, behind the squid, and some of those mud flaps came in and they were, you know, they were all sandpapered up, you know. So that couple of those fish were definitely in there. I definitely didn't see them.
Yeah.
We definitely started doing that like 3 years ago. We think we were getting desperate at the end of the White Marlin Open. I was always like, man, I don't want to put those mud flops out there. And then we started putting them behind the squid dredge, and we started to see a lot more blues. I mean, maybe the blue marlin fishing had been better this last 2 years than average, but we've seen proportionally, I feel like, a lot more blues than, and I don't think it's really affected the White Marlin fishing at all. So, but it seems crazy. Like, we definitely saw a lot more blues with the mud flaps behind us. So I'm a big believer in mud flap. So
you can change the color. You know, if you're using a ballyhoo dredge in Costa Rica and they're feeding on the lanternfish and they got these big, huge acres of red minnows out there, you know, you can put out a red squid dredge and kind of emulate that.
The fat daddies look almost exactly like the lat.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's a lot easier to switch out to if you have a few dredges. You know,
I mean, you obviously need all the colors, right?
All the colors, all of them, all of them.
All of them.
Jeremy Duffy called me, talked to me after one of the legs, and he says, I want 2 of every color dredge that you have. And I said, okay. And, you know, it was at the after party. Everybody's a little happy. And, you know, I didn't think anything of it. I get a call like 10 days later from Jeremy. He's like, "Where are my fucking dredges?" I'm like, still thinking up of colors, dude. Yeah.
Making new colors.
He bought them all. It's amazing.
Nice. All right. And then a little more controversial, stacking amateur tournaments with pro teams. Now, I mean, I guess, you know, a lot of these, like the White Marlin Open, the Bisbees, you know, certain tournaments in Miami are right. Like there's some of them are specified and some of them are not. Some of them are open tournaments. So like, maybe, I mean, in Miami, you guys are famous for stacking the deck with a bunch of, whether they be pros or amateurs, stacking the deck with guys or girls that know what to do. There's a lot more girls lately that know what's going on.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think? Like, I mean, I don't really have any problem with it. You're an amateur, Uncle Bill, and you probably fish more than me and Nick, or definitely more than me. Maybe not Nick, but I mean, there's very little. I don't know. If you saw a video of you fishing, you'd think you were an amateur, but you're almost you're a professional most of the time.
He's got a job. He's got a job this year. That job is to knock me down. He is getting back 22 years of torture that he says that I inflicted upon him. He's getting it back.
Just show him all those tournament winning checks you got.
Yeah.
He's getting it back in one season. You hit the nail on the head. I think Anthony is, they're all amateurs on the Big O. They're all amateurs on the fish tank.
And the max bet.
They're all amateurs on the max bet. I think Jimmy Field said that one time when they were trying to implement the no amateur rule in the Pirates Cove. He's like, "What are you bitching about? Because you guys, the top. Look at the Salty Fair, aren't they amateurs?
Yeah.
But what is amateur?
I guess that's the question. Is like, I guess in Los Sueños would probably have the more, and I don't know about the Miami tournaments, Nick, but they have a pretty cut and dry. Like, if you've been paid in the last 2 or 3 years as a mate, captain, what have you, you're basically a professional. Now you'd look at somebody like Bill or Jimmy Fields, who was a professional and is turned amateur. You can be a professional, turn amateur. A lot of people do that. Scott Levin, whole piles of people go. The decks are stacked with people that are basically they're fortunate enough, or we're fortunate enough to be exposed to fishing on a year-round basis, and it's an advantage. There's no way around it. But you can't really say that. I mean, you're stacking the deck, but I wouldn't say it's like a whole host of mates. And I don't think that would be advantageous to get, if we were to stack the deck with, say Bill Keller, the owner of the Blood Money, said, I just want to go fishing with me and 6 mates and let's see how good we can do. I don't think it would go as well as we think it would. I think it would versus our typical tournament crew. I think that it would go better with our group and designated people doing the designated things.
If you had a different group of mates come in every time, probably.
Yeah, or if you just said, all right, we're fishing, we're fishing a tournament, and I just want to stack the deck with the best talent, or just get all the mates you can and go fishing. Which, I mean, they're certainly talented, but I think it would be, I don't know if it would be any better or worse. Like in some aspects it might be better, but I don't know. What do you, Nick? You stack the deck with all sorts of people. You're like the worst at it. You're doing.
No, I'm not the worst at it. I'm not the worst at it.
Who's the worst? Nick, tell us.
There's people that definitely. I mean, dude, my top angler in majority of all my tournaments is he's amateur. I mean,
yeah.
He's the best angler, I'd want on a rod, but he's never, he doesn't fish for a living. He works he's an engineer and comes and fucking doesn't miss. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, we definitely always have, I'd say 3 mates as anglers, and then, sometimes a 4th, but there's other boats that have 3,
it's the whole team,
5, like the entire team plus the owner,
Yeah. That's, but there's no, I mean, you've had groups of amateurs and professionals fish with you, and they're, if they're of a certain level and of a certain level of experience, then it doesn't really matter. You can kind of, if you're exposed to that and dedicate your time to it.
Well, that's why it's funny just saying amateur, because I know what we're saying when we say amateur, but there's amateur anglers that are better than the mates. I mean,
look at the best team in the world. You got a couple in their 70s and a guy that would rather tell jokes than look at the spread. And then Billy, that's their 4 anglers, Mr. and Mrs. Duffy and Danny Goff, who's always cracking jokes and having a blast. And then when a fish shows up, they don't miss.
Yeah.
And then you got Billy or Noah, as their one pro or as the other guy. That's one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah. So I think to answer your question, Jay, I just think that if you stack the deck with people, whether they're pros or amateurs, with people that know what the hell they're doing, it's, you're going to give yourself an advantage there, and there ain't no way around it, and that's what happens. That's why, certain boats tend to win, after 10 years, I guess we've almost become one of those boats, Bill, almost. So, but I mean, we've worked very long. It's not something like, I guess that maybe he's asking, like, you could buy that, or you could, with hiring mates, or you could develop that like we have over years, and excruciating years of either the captain being in the wrong spot, or the mates or the anglers fucking them off.
What's the thing? Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think if you have a deck full of people that know what they're doing, it's certainly going to help.
Definitely helps.
But
you could have an amateur angler that they just fish all the time.
Yeah.
Like you see a lot of these guys, and those fucking guys don't miss.
Yeah. So guys and girls. I mean, there's plenty.
Yeah, guys and
Sandra.
girls, yeah.
Oh my God, there's incredible women that are killing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely killing it.
So, and then I guess that we can roll this question in the evolutions in the industry that are hated and loved. I think from a general
Well,
from a
there's one red
general
flag already.
Yeah, from a general that was Chase Diller who sent that in. And right off the bat, a general consensus is, I think if you have a sonar, you probably love it. And if you don't have a sonar, you probably not terribly happy about it, So it's a game changer. Tournaments have changed their rules. Some tournaments have outlawed them altogether. Some tournaments have changed their rules and not using them before lines in. I don't know. I'll say this: I'm one of the young spoiled brats that have a sonar in the boat that I run, and I don't know. We live in a capitalist society, hyper capitalist people that we compete against in the sport fishing industry, and I just think that it's an open world. And if you can pay for it, you can do it, and go get it.
Horsepower and circle hooks. Those are two other ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it's amazing. There's a lot more now, but I remember when my son Nicholas was learning how to billfish. Nicholas has never used a J hook on a billfish.
Yeah.
He grew up his entire life circle hooks, so we don't really have that argument anymore. But that was a big contention in the beginning. That switch to mandatory circle hooks.
mm-hmm.
And horsepower. I think horsepower is just as important as anything.
Just being able to get somewhere.
Just being able to get somewhere. It may not be a big deal. It may not be a big deal in like Cabo where the limit is 40 miles.
Yeah.
Or even Costa Rica a little bit. But if Johnny Lagrone starts catching quads and triples up there off of Cabo Blanco, and most boats can't make it up there in 45 minutes, 30 minutes. Nowadays almost all the boats can make it.
Yeah. I mean, it used to be like a thing down there in Costa Rica where you had have like a pretty simple Carolina boat, almost like a refitted charter boat to compete. And then it started seeming like people were, losing advantages because of, not being able to make a quick move. I mean, Nick, you said you've made 30-mile runs, like change moves in a day, and the boats that you run. Or Q, even that one story that Q told us when we had him on a contender boat. I don't know how far
he ran like 60 miles and then started mowing them and won the daily or something.
Yeah, I mean, if that's not an advantage, I don't know what is. And you couldn't even do that in a 60-foot Viking or 70-foot Viking. You couldn't make that move the way he did. Like that was just, you can't. I mean, that's probably the top end on a 40 or 70 Viking is still probably 15 knots less than a contender, if you not more. So
yeah, but you see, I mean, some of the Spencer boats and stuff
they're
in South
quick.
Florida. I mean, those guys, especially when it's rough, Sandman, Bar South. I mean, those guys they'll make a 30-mile run going
into
40
it.
knots right into it. We're in a center console, just where you're waiting for the tower to fall off.
I think, yeah, I guess you're right, Bill. I think I think the quickest to come to mind is definitely the sonar, but
But yeah, speed for sure.
speed, that's an advantage. Speed, size, being able to make a run when make a move when it's kind of rough, having the size to do it. I would say those are definitely. What about hated, like ones that you hate? I don't really think that there's any innovations that I terribly hate.
Oh no, because we have a sonar.
Well, yeah, it's true. Exactly. And we've had it for 4 years. So
Yeah.
we've had it for a long time, and it's definitely helped. So
And it's funny you see starting to see now. I mean, some of the people are like, "Oh, I'm never getting a sonar," especially like you see a lot of some guys in DR and stuff. I'm never getting it, and now they're slowly one by one. They're all getting.
Yeah, and it'll be curious to see. Like, I feel like
I'm like, dude, last year you said you weren't getting it. I know.
I'll be curious to see because it's a fairly involved piece of equipment to use, and I think that even though some boats are going to have them, doesn't mean that you're going to first of all be in the right spot in the ocean, and second of all understand what you're looking at very quickly.
And I remember this summer, I'm not gonna say names, but ran into somebody and they didn't have one, and they're like, "Yeah, well, we don't tournament fish." He's explained to me. He was saying the captain was telling me that if he wanted it, the boss would 100% let him get the sonar. And I go, "Well, why wouldn't you get it?" He's like, "We don't tournament fish." I go, "Well, that doesn't make sense." I go, "Even when you fun fish, don't you want to go out there and catch as many as you can?"
Yeah.
No, we don't tournament fish. I'm like, well, I don't understand where you're coming from. I was like, if your boss is telling you that you could get it, but you're trying to save them $130,000 because you don't tournament fish, I'm not missing your point here. Like, don't you want to go out there and catch your boss as many fish as possible? Even if you're not tournament fishing. I mean,
Exactly.
Well, every day is a tournament, and the world of Nick Carullo. I mean, he's a very intense person. No, the way I
tournament on the blood money too. Trust me.
I would agree with that. I mean, my question is like, if you can't afford it, that's pretty cut and dry. But you're looking for reasons not to have it. I mean, if you own a sport fishing boat and you don't want to catch 20% more fish, like in general, I don't know why you have a sport fishing boat.
No.
But that's just me. And then
Nick, if it's a Tuesday in August and you're out there with some friends and you're just fun fishing and your captain's up there with the gyros and he's looking through with the gyros and he goes, "Fuck!" He's competitive. He's competitive. He's like, "God damn, they got one on again."
Oh yeah.
He's competitive.
I will say up here too. I mean, one innovation that I love.
Yeah, he likes to pick on me, saying how competitive I am.
You're just have an intense way about you, Nick. I'm far more relaxed these days. 3-4 years ago, I'm a little bit more off the boat. I'm not intense. Nick has a way. We've never actually met in person, but you have an intense way about you. I feel like
that's true.
I was watching that documentary, The Redeem Team, on I think it's on Netflix, about the Olympic basketball team, and they were talking about Chris Bosh was talking about meeting Kobe Bryant for the first time, and he was like, he did this impersonation of Kobe Bryant about like he goes like I can't even do it, but he's very serious, and he goes, most people you say you meet another basketball player, you go, "Oh, nice to meet you, what excited." He's like, "Nice to meet you," like very fucking straight. I could see meeting you as being like that, like just super intense. One other thing that look that up one day, Nick. I'll send it to you because it's fucking funny. And I thought of you when I watched it. One thing that I have, the evolution in water shots over the last 4 or 5 years has been, you used to have to either go off the Rutgers sea surface temperature, which is free, which everybody should use if you're fishing, somewhere north of South Florida, basically, every day. And then, but it used to be just that or the raw fish shot, which was far more involved, but it was terribly expensive for like a season, unlimited season. It was expensive. Now there's other services. Rip Charge is my favorite fish track. I use Terrafin, and it's another one that actually there's one that I might subscribe to just for that tournament in El Salvador, Uncle Bill. But
I got a question. Are they? I think they use Terrafin or Hilton's.
Yeah, Hilton's. That's the one. Yeah.
But I got a question. Are they all using the same satellite?
I feel like they are. They're using the same shot. It's just what you can sometimes the capabilities of what you can
Decipher.
the decipher. Sometimes the like Rolfers, they do the interpretation for you, right? Which is great. But if you're just learning, but what I've found is that I feel like I could almost do a better job than them sometimes with the information that I get firsthand and what I can do with using the 3 services I use, which is the free service from Rutgers, the Fish Track, and the Rip Charts. I'm so confident that they all use the same satellite shot. It's what you could do with the shots and make it see what you want to see, and also understanding what you're looking at, and knowing that that's come from this has been there and now it's here, and it's come from a certain area that I know will be good. It took me a long time to develop that, and Rolfers did a good job teaching us how to at the beginning, teaching me how to do that, and then I kind of started to play with the other things. But they do use this same shot. I mean, it's huge up here, Nick. You can't.
Yeah. No, I mean, I got a question for you. Like, let's say you're coming up on a tournament, and for this particular tournament, you've had charters and you fished X amount of days before this tournament, and you're catching fish in this area. And right before the tournament, you get your water shot and it looks fucking epic 100 miles away from where you just been mowing fish for the past week.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go where that water shot is, or are you going where you just been mowing fish?
If I feel it's good, and sometimes if I don't know, it almost helps me, because like the thing you fish big tournaments there in South Florida, but there's going to be no secret about what's going on where we've been fishing. You know what I mean? So there's going to be a whole pile of boats. Now the question is, like, say we were fishing leading up to the White Marlin Open, having steady fishing.
But you're gonna leave. You would make the move, like you would leave where you just caught 30 fish to go to somewhere where no one even has fished yet, to go a new.
It all depends. It all depends on how many people are planning on going there. For me, how many people are planning on going there? Where a lot of things have to do with how I feel about that water, and that the newer water typically coming down from the north. Because I've always had a dream of doing this on the first day of the White Marlin Open and just going up there and mowing them, dude. But I've yet to do that where it was like crazy good. But I mean, last couple of years we found ourselves fishing almost by ourselves on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was younger, I used to follow the crowd, mainly because we didn't fish a lot before the tournaments, and that kind of was the safe bet. Now I feel like if I'm fishing pretty well in an area, Nick, and I feel like I have a good pattern on where it's going to be, then I might stick to what's been working. But the problem is that there'll be 100 boats there the first day of the tournament. If the weather's perfect, if the weather's crappy for 2 days and good for 3 days, it makes it very much far more difficult to find a place on your own, because you're like, typically at Ocean City, especially during the week, you would go somewhere and it would be like 20. You would go there, and if there was 20 boats there, it'd be a lot, like in the middle of the week. So plan A would have like 20 boats there. Plan B would probably have 10 or 12 boats there. Plan C and D would probably have 5-10 boats in a certain area. Now just times that whole progression by basically 10 for like a White Marlin Open in the Mid-Atlantic, and even some of the poor girls now, and some of the other tournament, you add 100 boats there, it makes it a lot more difficult. It dilutes the fishing. If you go somewhere and you catch 10, the next day in Ocean City, there might be 10 boats there and they all might get one bite. It all depends on how sustainable I feel like the fishing is. But I mean, the way I've been fishing those tournaments lately, Nick, if there was a new piece of water coming from the north and I had some semblance of what was going on up there, of knowledge of what was going on up there, I would probably take the chance. I mean, we've done well doing that, and we've also fucked ourselves pretty good doing that. So it kind of goes either way.
And also, your network is no longer just your network in your home waters.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what's happening from basically northern New Jersey all the way down to North Carolina.
Yeah.
So you know if that new piece of water is holding something usually.
Or, sometimes I just need to know a little bit, like that fucking day, the last day of the White Marlin Open.
Yeah.
Last summer, we basically had this situation, Nick. We were fishing well in an area, and I kind of knew the majority of the fleet was going to be there, and I felt like there was going to be water coming from the north, and you couldn't see through the clouds at the time. Uncle Bill, this is the thing about asking all your people about what we were talking about before you hopped on, Uncle B. Always taking all the information available. He said he got a report from somebody who knew somebody who was lure fishing and saw 12 or had 12 bites and saw a couple more up outside the Spencer. And we just said, it was kind of it felt good because the whole team was like, yeah, fuck it, let's go up there. And I was nervous. And when we sat down in the spot, we were too shallow, but I was like, oh my God, we fucked up. I mean, the water was green, low 70 degrees, and it looked like shit. But we picked up when we made a move, and we got lucky, and we found what we were looking for, and we were able to catch 5 and lose on time in a 100-pound yellowfin, second place in the White Marlin Open, and tuna, and then second place overall. But yeah, we just kind of made that. We took that gamble, and sometimes it pays off and sometimes you're not going to do, but it all depends on how educated the guest feels. We used to just be like, oh, that's a new piece of blue water. Cause me and the other owner, Pete would be like, we would come up with these plans and convince ourselves that, oh, we're going to go out there and set the world on fire, catch 20. And we never did. So we started to find, just look for consistency, Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I do my own thing a lot now. Do you do that? I mean, do you find yourself fishing alone to start off with a lot of the time, Nick?
I try to. I mean,
yeah,
I certainly try to. And some days you do get lucky and you get to start by yourself. Or some days you start right in the thick of it,
Yeah. I mean, some days there's no other option.
Some days you get lucky though. Like some days you do get to start by yourself, and you kind of create the movement, and then everyone kind of flocks towards you. Or you make that midday move and you go set up somewhere by yourself, and then you start catch them as well. Or you start where everyone starts, and then someone else starts catch them, and then everyone else goes and finds that guy, and then you just hold out, where you initially wanted to be, and then you start getting them.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So
those are the
sonar cuts your failure time down quite a bit too.
Yeah, I mean that's the truth. Like if I kind of know.
Well, I'll tell you what.
There's no guessing when you're in the wrong spot.
That's gonna be the real eye opener, is when they got that sonar dialed in for shallow water, because that's really gonna change the game big time.
How was it fishing? Was it crowded on the fads fishing the tournament with other boats, or was it? I
mean, I try to.
Like, did you feel like sometimes that you get in a fleet with a bunch of people and you get a lot of stuff going on your screens and stuff like that, you almost just got to kind of ignore it and just go fishing like you typically would?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last day of the tournament, which is a day that really tight, real tight, they won the whole tournament in one day.
Oh, wow.
And me and him were the only boats in that area pretty much. And that was a day that we raised like 7 fish and only had 1 bite.
Wow.
And then he raised 10 and got 10 bites, So by midday that day, there was 15 boats circling the same 4 fads, and he was still getting bit.
Yeah. When you got it going on, man, it's not even.
No, when you're on, you're on.
Somebody's like, what were you doing? And like, I don't really know. If I told you,
same thing I've been doing every day.
Kind of blows my mind that I was getting bit.
No.
Well, cool.
We literally do the same thing
We don't even change the dredges. Like I was like,
there are two. All I want to do is throw something different out, and Anthony would let me if it's not a tournament. And but it's the same 2 dredges, the same 2 teasers every
day,
every single day.
I like it.
Sometimes we freshen them up. Like if they get tired, Uncle B will be nice enough to bring a new dredge. He gets tired of looking at the old beat up ones.
The one that's bleached from the sun.
Yeah, bleached out. Sometimes the mates set them in the engine room on top of each other, so the colors bleed into each other, and they're custom now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of uniformity and confident. I think I have certain scenarios that I'm ready for when it comes to pulling stuff. Like if they're eating on real small bait, the little sardines, which they got going on a little bit earlier this year or in September, early September, but they never like it was never really a disadvantage to be pulling what we were pulling, the green, what is it called? The Lumo dredge and the red dredge.
Fat Daddy dredge.
No, that was just the regular.
Regular long-tail dredge.
Yeah. But that little red one or the black and green one would have been a good one if they got going on the little sardines, but they never did. So the crackman, as they call them. Ernie said what people could do to make people's life easier, like captain and mate, and I would say good food and good drinks and don't miss.
Don't
There
miss.
you go.
That's it.
It's easy.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
Be nice. Well, be nice.
That doesn't happen on our boat.
No, it's not like an angry mean on our boat, Nick. It's more like a more psychological torture. Like it's a long it takes place over the course of the day. There's no yelling that goes on, but like if you fuck up, you're just gonna hear about it all day, and then maybe for the next week or till forever. Sometimes.
Oh, we got certain videos that we play over and over and over again, and it's
Thank you, Uncle Bill.
Yep.
Bill,
Guys.
Squid Nation, Anthony, thank you. That was good.
Thanks, Nick.
And I'm gonna say,
We'll be in El Salvador soon, probably when this airs, huh?
Yeah,
And,
probably.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll have good news from there.
there you go.
Looking forward to it.
Standing by.
Thanks, Uncle B.
See you guys.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Anthony, Hooked Optics, and the Blood Money, Billfish Gear. Check us out. Miami Boat Show coming up. I'll have some new apparel